Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining this evening's meeting for INCOSE's Washington Metropolitan Area's monthly meeting. If this is your first time joining the meeting, please let us know in the chat by giving us your name. Let us know what city and state that you're dialing in from. My name is Dr. LaWanda Avon Studevant. I am the current president for this chapter. And again, we are delighted to have you join us for the meeting this evening. We are looking forward to the presentation by Dr. Ali Ross. Dr. Sue, if you could move to the next slide for me, please. Just wanted to cover a few housekeeping items. Thank you all for putting the information in the chat. Thank you so much. We're happy that you're here. A few virtual housekeeping items. Please put your phone on mute if you're not speaking to the entire audience. If this is your first time, as I mentioned before, please let us know that this is your first time by letting us know in the chat. We can use this chat space to exchange information so that we can keep in contact with one another and help each other out in the system engineering industry. Next slide, please. Here is this evening's agenda. I will give you a few updates from my viewpoint, and then I will ask each of the committee chairs to give a report of their areas. And as I mentioned, we have a wonderful presentation this evening, scheduled for this evening by Dr. Ali Raz, who is a professor here at George Mason University. And he's going to speak to us about INCOSE Artificial Intelligence Working Group. And then there will be a couple bits of information regarding next steps for the chapter as we end December and move into 2026. Next slide, please. All right. So you may have received an email, should have received an email as a WMA member that election is underway for the next WMA board. We have a vice president position that is open, along with two other positions, our events chair as well as our tutorial chair will be leaving us, sadly for us, this year. And so we are looking for folks to fill those two chair roles. And we also have lots of room for you to, so don't just think of three positions. Feel free to join in on any of the committees. Each of the committees would love to have you. And so the next item I wanted to share with you, Gary Thomas has been working so hard and so diligently on getting the government to consider a system engineering job series. And so we have now over 100 signatures on the petition. And so we are moving fast forward to our next goal, our next stretch goal of 200 and beyond. We are looking to have as many people as possible to sign off on this petition so that we can help all of the new system engineers that are coming into this industry, as well as those that are in the industry but may be in some other job category but should be in systems engineering. So if you haven't seen the link, it's on our website. We've posted it on LinkedIn several times. and we will continue to do so. But Gary, did you want to say a few words about what you're doing, or did you want to share later?
Sure. I can share an update.
Sure.
As of the start of this meeting, can you hear me okay? First off?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
great. At the start of this meeting, we are now at 142 votes.
Woo!
Yeah, and we're almost halfway to, because our goal to get to 100 was like a week ago, week and a half ago, and now we're trying to get to 200. At least that's the challenge that Change.org gave to us. So we're at 142, and I'm hoping that by maybe the end of December, going into the new year, we're closing. We're at 200, and then maybe by INCOSE's um, international workshop, by the time that ends, we hope to be at 300. Our goal is to get to 500 by May. We're gonna push ourselves hard to try to get to 500 by May, and then from there we'll kick off our letter writing campaign to elected representatives. Being a midterm election, we think we'll have some an audience, an ear by our politicians because of the midterm elections. That's all I have. Any questions?
Not for me, but anyone on the call? Anyone in the room?
Yeah, is there a link to sign it? How do you get to sign it?
There's a link on the INCOSE WMA webpage, and I can also put the link in a few minutes. I can put the link in the chat.
Okay.
Maybe if Paul is on the call, maybe he can do that for me. I'm in the parking garage over at George Mason, making my way to the meeting. Over.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, we'll be sure to
Roger
get that
that.
in the chat before the end of the call. All right. Any other questions regarding this petition? All right, hearing none, we'll move along. So the next item is that we are continuing to stay connected to our student chapters, and wanted to add that we had a dynamic career resume workshop this week at George Washington University, where we had, I believe it was about 25 or so that had registered for this event. We had a few folks that are already in the industry. We had peer-to-peer resume review, as well as folks that are more senior to review the student resumes as they get prepared for internships and jobs post graduation. And so we are trying to do our best to stay engaged with our student chapters so that we can help them with whatever they need help with in continuing in their system engineering career journey. And then we are also, in terms of servicing our WMA membership, we're also planning an end of year recognition holiday party in December. And so more information will come about regarding that event. Our events committee chair, Kathleen Flynn, will talk more about that later on the call. And then lastly, before I turn it over to the committee chairs, is we are, along with the Chesapeake chapter, participating in a gala in December 5th. It's going to be at the um, engineering building in Baltimore, Maryland. It was a fabulous event that Gary and I attended last year. And so we hope that if any of you all are interested in joining us at this gala, information is on our website. And so we would love to have you there. At any rate, moving on to the next slide. That's all that I have to share at this moment. Oh, and here it is, the engineering club, the gala that I just spoke of. Here is the information. And so if you're interested, there is a link on our INCOSE WMA website if you'd like to join us for this event. Next slide. I think it's Dr. Sue. Are you, okay. All right, here is the list of the 2025 WMA board members. And so I won't go through all of the names, but we are nearing the end of our tenure. And we are here to serve you. If there is something, an area that you're interested in being a part of, a committee you'd like to join, we would love to have you. Feel free to reach out to any of the names that you see here on this slide. Next slide. Here is the GMU. Here is your slide regarding your board members for the student chapter. Is the president of the GMU student chapter on the call?
No. Colin Craig is here, the event coordinator.
Okay. Have anything you'd like to share, Colin? Love to hear it.
We have, I think there's an event tomorrow and next week that we're doing. Excited for those. Other than that, not much really.
Okay. So you said you have an event?
Yep, tomorrow and next week on the 18th.
Okay. All right. Well, we will certainly make note of that. All right. Next slide. The next slide is the George Washington University Student Chapter Board.
Yeah, I didn't see any of the students. They may have a class tonight, but just going back to what you said earlier, just a heartfelt thank you for the resume session there. They really loved it, and the students were really fired up about that. And I think it was just a great showcase event. So thank you very much for your participation. I really, unfortunately I missed it. I was across the hallway as you saw the class, but I got nothing but great comments. So thank you so much.
Yes, we enjoyed it as well. So it went both ways. Thank you so much, Dr. Dano.
You're welcome.
All right, next slide. And our third student chapter, Virginia Tech. Here is the board for this student chapter. Is anyone on the call from this chapter?
Hi, James here from Virginia Tech.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you all?
Good. Anything you'd like to share about what's happening in your
Sure.
chapter? Okay.
Yeah, so we have been pretty busy this semester. We already have hosted 4 different events, and we're looking forward to our fifth and final event of the semester on our reading day on December 11. So we usually organize a reading day social event where we have pizza, and it's open to all ISC students. So far, we did one career talk with former technical director at Northrop Grumman, and then we did a meet and greet event, and we did a pumpkin painting event over the
wow.
Halloween. So it was all really successful. So thank you all for your support.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this information.
And
Look forward
just
to,
yeah,
go ahead.
sure. And just a quick note. So this slides looks kind of not updated. I am the president right now. So this
Okay.
is from the last year's board, I believe. So
Okay, we will be sure to get this updated.
all right,
Thank you for letting us know.
Sure.
All right, next slide. I think I saw membership chair. Dr. Mary Burley, are you available?
WMA.
Say again, though, so I'm on mute, so go ahead.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. The WMA INCOSE chapter would like to welcome our new members for the month of October. We had 14 new members. So if any of you guys are online or in the room, welcome. That's fine. And we also had a new set member. There we go. Back up on the slide. Slide. There we go. So we had 6 new set members, 3 A set members, and 3 C set members. So again, I'm sorry, not members, C set certification. So for all the new members and all the set certified members, welcome and congratulations on reaching this achievement.
Absolutely. A round of applause to all of our new members and new SEP certified members. All right, next slide. All right. Dr. Tika Ra, are you available to speak? Our
Yes,
ambassador chair.
Dr. Stidevin. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. To your point earlier, there is an ongoing dynamic engagement going on with the student chapters, and some of the leaders already spoke to it, right? And you can also see, the documentation of what has been going on with student chapter. This is GMU, and also you see a small table there indicating or informing rather, what events are upcoming. This is also an opportunity for the BOD or board members of the INCOSE WMA. If you're available, please do visit or engage in some of those events to support, cheerlead, and be there for our student leaders there and their members. This is the event actually Gary and I both got to join virtually. And we spoke about that petition we discussed earlier, so that was also great. All right, next slide, please. All right, same with VT. As you can see, some of the event pictures that they have sent me. And this is also part of communicating, in addition to in the meeting or email, but pictorial, the visuals, right? So the next step for me to liaise with Nalini, our newsletter editor, to how we put that out also in our final quarter newsletter to showcase, some of the events our student chapters did throughout the semester. So it's really exciting, to have this engagement going. And these are the pictures, from the pumpkin painting competition that James spoke earlier. Next slide. And no pictures for GWU because the event yesterday, I heard it went great. Thank you. And Dr. Dano, you already talked about it. But from GWU students leadership, if I can get the images, and I will also make sure they get included in our archive and also goes out in the newsletter.
Okay, I will reach out for those. Yep, I'll get them to you.
Excellent. And for the board members and everybody on the call, you see some of the events upcoming. Please reach out to me or the student leaders directly if you're available and to join and to support the events. Okay, next slide. All right. So in addition to engaging with the student chapter to support and cheerlead, there are a couple of programs I'm able to get it off the ground thanks to the leadership across the board. This one is the Systems Engineering Excellence Award. It's unprecedented for the first time. And all 3 student chapters have already been informed. And I also had a short call with GWU team, Mason team rather, to walk through the guide, as to how to apply, what are the steps to get recognized. So as you can see on the slide, one student chapter can apply up to 3 projects, and the winners would be declared early next year in 3 categories: gold, silver, and bronze. And there's also gift card prizes in addition to certificate and a plaque. I would hope a lot of students, team members from the projects would apply for these unprecedented, newly rolled out events. And I'm also looking for judges. If you are interested to become a judge, when we assess these projects, please let me know. Next slide, please. This one right here, I see John already on the call. So John, if you don't mind, if you can unmute yourself, why don't you take it and do it again like last time? We want to hear from you.
Sure. So I assume you're talking about the CSER conference. George Mason, we are hosting a conference on system engineering research. It'll be in April. It'll be on the Arlington campus. So there's a beautiful new building, the Fuse building. It's a great facility. Dr. Ali Raz, whom you'll hear from in later today, is the co-chair. So we're excited to put on this program. The call for papers is November 30th. It can be both full-length papers as well as shorter papers and posters, and so there's information on the website. But this is for systems engineering research, and we look forward to having a great program and seeing, if you don't submit anything, feel welcome to come and attend in April.
Thank you, John. And we are also looking out for sponsorship opportunities. Please do reach out to me or John if you know his email already, if you would like to, especially for the CAP members, CAP member reps. If you're in the call today, please reach out to me and I can follow up on that with John. Okay. This is the other event next year is happening on April 20th. This is what we call the SAGE competition in short. And which actually started from, the Andrew P. Sage Memorial Capstone Design Competition started. This is the 9th one, I believe. So 9 years ago for a capstone project from students. And you can see all the timeline over here, abstract due on February 20th. And to your right, you can see the registration due date and final paper. And this event also requires judges in addition to the Systems Engineering Excellence Awards. If you are interested to becoming a judge, please reach out to me. There's an email in the middle of this slide. It says ambassador@incosewma.org. An interesting thing is that the Systems Engineering Excellence Awards that my committee is launching is a pathway to submit to SAGE competition next year. It makes lots of logical sense. So I would hope lots of student body would apply for these awards, both, right? So pathway-wise, you get to also compete in SAGE. All right, next slide.
And I could just say a couple words about what's involved with judging. So
Sure.
It would be judging a single track or session at the competition. So usually it's kind of like a 2.5 hour session, 4 to 5 presentations in that session. So it doesn't have to be a full day if that's a too much of a time commitment. But basically reading 4 or 5 papers beforehand and then judging the presentations of the day of the competition.
All right, thank you, John, for adding some layers to that. Yeah, let's go to next slide, please, which is final for me. And speaking of the program, so this is also very exciting, right, for 2026 summer internship and employment opportunities. So there has been an ongoing conversations with these organizations, General Atomics, Psych, and Bechtel. And if there are other CAP member reps here, please reach out to me, because the plan here is to how we can funnel, starting with the 3 student chapter students, right, for both internship and employment opportunities, but do as a first sort of a test, if I may, right? But the trick is, how the committee and INCOSE WMA can be sensitive and be a learning organization. So when we iterate, it gets better for the more benefit that, we want to deliver to WMA. And it also ties pretty well with what happened yesterday, right? So whatever lessons we have learned from that, I will liaise with our committee chairs and funnel into, what's coming early next spring. And all of this, I will liaise, of course, with the communications chair as well, and how we can communicate out there in the general public, right? So exciting moment. And thank you. That's it, Dr. Sutherland. Over to you.
Holding me, I was presenting from the parking garage. I arrived right at 6:30 in the parking garage. I came here from Maryland, so traffic was not kind to me today. All right, so the next slide is the newsletter regarding, if we could go back one, I think I saw news. Okay. All right. So Nalini is
Hello.
hi, he is our newsletter chair, editor. Over to
Yep.
you.
Yep. So, hey, we're collecting inputs towards our last edition of the newsletter for this year. So we'll be planning to publish around the end of the end of the month, and archive all materials early next month. So I'm looking forward to hearing from anyone interested in contributing anything related to systems engineering, something from your organization or a general topic of interest. So anything is welcome, and please send your contributions to the emails at the bottom of the slide, and we'll roll it into the publication towards the end of this month. Thank you.
I just want to add anything systems engineering related, not just any article. All right, so moving on to the next slide. Communications chair, Paul.
Hi, Paul DeMarco. So during next month or this month, we're going to send out a short survey to try and solicit feedback from the members to understand how we can serve you better. So look after that. One of the bribes for it is one lucky person will be drawn from whoever submits feedback, and will receive a 1-year coaching membership. So one way to try and get some feedback from the the other news is minor updates to the website. So at the bottom of the main page on the website, we added all the chapter awards that we've received over the course of the last, I guess, 25 years.
Right. Thank you so much, Paul. Next slide. All right. I don't see Ruchira, our program chair, but what you see before you is the first half of the year, the presentations that we've had for the first 6 months. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see the second half of the year, July and August, we were on summer break. And here is what we have planned for the remainder of the year. So the next is the holiday party. Can't wait for it. All right, next slide. All right, Kathleen Flynn is our events chair. Are you on the line, Kathleen?
Hi, yes, I'm here. So, as you've heard, we had a productive event this past Monday with the George Washington University chapter for the resume review career development session. And upcoming, we have the last chapter meeting of the year is going to be the second Wednesday in December, and it'll be held at George Mason University. I'll have to reach out to Dr. Shortle to confirm the catering options that we might have available to us on campus or that we can bring on campus. So definitely look for more information about that event forthcoming.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. All right, and I think I saw the next slide is regarding the elections. So Dr. Sue, over to you.
Thank you very much. So we have the elections, and as Dr. Studevant has mentioned, it's already started. The position is for the vice president, president-elect. The duty description is here, and we're in the November timeframe, and this is election time. Next slide, please. So the duration of the election is the 1st of November until the 30th. Next slide, please. E-ballots were sent to all chapter members. If you haven't got it, or you think you haven't got it, go look for this particular sender, no reply at ballot.com. You will get the site to which you have to go and do the voting. And I'll give you a short tutorial on how to do that next. The ballot will open on the 1st of November and will close on the 30th. And if you have any difficulties, please reach out to us. Next slide, please. So this is an email that you should have gotten. So number one is the source. You will get this particular document. This was sent to me. What you need to look for, number two, is the place to go for the balloting. You need to drop the period after a CMF, otherwise it gets you to a no place. And then your username and your password are provided. They're unique to each and every one of you. Next slide, please. So when you go to the ballot, you will get to this slide. You insert your username and your password, and you hit enter. Next slide, please. So you will get to the slate. On one side, you will get the picture, and then on the right, you hit the details. It will get you into their letter of intent. Next slide, please. So this is a letter of intent. Next slide, please. So you picked whoever is your candidate. There's two, and then you go through the details here. Next slide. You hit submit.
In a photo.
And a photo.
Promise.
Next slide, please. And then you get to verify that you are consenting to do this this event, this vote. You hit submit. You see this slide that tells you that you're good to go, and you will get a receipt, and you hit log out. Next slide, please.
It's thinking.
Next slide, please.
Yep, it's thinking.
Thank you, Paul, for doing this. Okay, and it'll get you to this closure slide. Thanks you for voting. And all of this, you can thank Paul, who has set this up and got it going last year and is continuing with this year. So this will conclude then the elections. Next slide, please. So we have a collaborative effort with PMI WDC. It's the community of practice. Dr. Rogers talked to you a little bit about the systems thinking and project management community practice. That was convened on the 4th of November, and it was a great event. We have coming up a second community practice. This is program and project management collaborations with systems engineers. I'll give you some details on that. Next slide, please. And so this is the invite for PME and also for INCOSE. So we offer this. This is offered to INCOSE members as a courtesy. You got the registration link right there. This is also posted on the website. And essentially, we're going to get the INCOSE PMSE working group to participate and work with PMI. And so we have had the INCOSE PMSE working group talk to us several times in the previous years. And so this is a good deal, I think, to work with, to have systems engineering people work with PMs. And this is sponsored by PMI. So if you get a chance, please click the registration link and join. It's free to you. We talked about the PMIWC annual conference last time around, so this is just an update. It was held on 24th and 25th of October. The statistics are there shown. About 300 people registered. There was 3 tracks, a total of 13.5 PDUs with people who like to track PDUs like myself. And people attended 1 track, and the other 2 tracks were available for on-demand viewing for attendees. And so if you had a chance to go, that was great. Next year, it's going to be at the JW Marriott in Reston. and we will continue to get information from PMI and WGC so that there is a wide dissemination among all of us. And I believe that's my last slide. Thank you so very much.
All right, and now the entree for the evening, we have a dynamic presenter, Dr. Ali Raz, who is a professor here at George Mason. He is no stranger to you all, but to those that are on the call, if you're not familiar, he is a professor here in the Department of Systems Engineering Operations Research in George Mason University's College of Engineering and Computing. His research focuses on understanding the collaborative nature of autonomy and developing system engineering methodologies for integrating autonomous systems. His research brings a systems engineering perspective inspired by complex adaptive systems to information fusion and artificial intelligence, machine learning technologies that form the foundations of the collaborative and integrated autonomous systems. All right, so he is a temporary faculty appointment with the U.S. Navy Naval Surface Warfare Center at Crane in Crane, Indiana, in support of fusion research activities, and has worked with Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory and the U.S. Missile Defense Agency. He has worked as a visiting assistant professor at Purdue University School of Aeronautics and Astronautics, and an engineer for Honeywell Aerospace on flight management and control systems for civilian and military aircraft. Dr. Raz has earned a Bachelor's of Science and a Master's of Science degrees in electrical engineering from Iowa State University and a PhD in aeronautics and astronautics from Purdue University at West Lafayette. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And good evening, everyone. I'm looking forward to sharing with you about the INCOSE AI working group. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna share my screen here, and thank you very much for the introduction. I did not realize I was going to read the whole thing, but that's yeah, that's good. So just give me 1 second here. I think it's maybe I'll stand up, but speak a little better if I'm standing. So again, good evening, everyone. My name is Ali Raz, and I'm one of the I'm actually the chair for the AI working group at INCOSE. And what I'll do today is I want to talk about some of the AI opportunities and advancements in systems engineering that we've been trying to champion at INCOSE. So just real quick, what I'd like to do is I'll give you an introduction to INCOSE's AI working group, and then we'll go into a little bit more technical details into what does it mean to have AI in systems, and just sort of like an overall introduction to AI. We'll talk about some systems engineering and AI opportunities, the needs for systems engineering of AI systems, and then we'll talk about some of the opportunities that lie ahead for these two disciplines. All right, so I'm pretty sure everyone here has heard about AI and well familiar with it. So the AI working group at INCOSE, that was established around 2021, 2021, and I've been a member of that working group since its formation, and now since last year I became the chair for this working group. The idea for this working group really is that we want to be able to explore the relevance of AI as a technology for systems engineering and systems engineers. We're developing some of the educational materials that introduce AI to the systems engineering community, and we're creating INCOSE products that will cover the spectrum of what is called the SE for AI and AI for SE. How many of you have heard this term AI for SE and SE for AI before? A few, right? So the idea is the SE for AI is really looking at systems engineering as a discipline and looking at systems engineering tools, practices, methodologies, and apply that towards the development of AI. As you will see in the presentation later on, is that AI community is actually facing a lot of challenges when it comes to adapting AI into practical systems. And the gap there is using systems engineering for AI. And then AI for SE is, of course, we want to be able to leverage the great AI capabilities that we're all now, getting exposed to into the practice for systems engineering. So our working group is kind of is somewhat divided into two, you can say. that a part of us focus on SE for AI, and then a part of us focus on AI for SE. Over the past few years, we have been very active in sort of trying to develop some of the foundations for AI in systems engineering community. Some of the things we have worked on and we're working on. The first one I'd like to highlight is these multiple tutorials and teach-through sessions that we have done at various INCOSE events. And I think ever since started out in our 2020, late 2021, during COVID times, they were mostly virtual. But then we went into in-person event in 2023, 2024, even 2025, as soon as last February, where we did a mini tutorial on AI and systems engineering. The reason for that is we did a survey of AI working group members, which, by the way, are more than 1,200 members, INCOSE members at this point. And an AI working group is among one of the largest working groups within INCOSE. Typically, working group membership is around 200 to 300 people, and I think we're well past that, the AI working group. So when we did the survey, one of the things that came across was that systems engineering community is not very well, versed in AI as a technology. Many of us, when we were going through our degree programs in multiple engineering disciplines, we were not taught AI. Right? So how do we adapt AI principles into systems engineering practices, or adapt systems engineering principles to AI? We need to learn about AI. And unfortunately, as it happens, there is a lot of misinformation, misconception about what really is AI. Right? A lot of times people say, oh, AI is brand new. We've just been recently exposed to it. In fact, AI was introduced in 1950s. So we kind of talk about the history of the AI and how AI became a mainstream technology. And another reason I did is I kind of like to show this picture that I took just earlier this year in Ottawa, Canada. That was at the INCOSE IS event, and I was going to go give a talk on AI. And I was passing through this Irish pub, and there was this gentleman standing there with a sign said, what really is AI? Come talk to me about it. And I was like, okay, that sounds very nice. It's like a nice, a nice day outside. Let's go talk to the person right outside an Irish pub about AI. I said, all right, so tell me about what's AI. And he's like, oh, it is the Satan's plan to take the third world order. And I was like, thank you, sir. It was very nice talking to you. So the point here is that there's a lot of misconception about AI that is sort of building up. So at AI Working Group, what we're doing is we're trying to sort of at least, eradicate those misconceptions and set a foundation for AI for systems engineering communities. We did an article in CBOC that it was released in 2021. So I think that's very easily accessible. We are building a primer on AI for systems engineering community. Hopefully that should be released soon, not by IW, but definitely by the next IS. I hope so. There will be an emerging article, or the SE emerging area article in Systems Engineering Guide to Large Language Models that would be published in CBOC very soon. So these are some of the activities that we have been kind of involved in with the AI Working Group. Another major initiative that we took for AI Working Group is a special issue on Systems Engineering Journal on AI and systems engineering. So as many of you are familiar with journal articles, they need to go through more like a single blind peer review process. So we started out early this year, and hopefully some of the new publications will be coming out very soon as part of this journal. To the best of our knowledge, this is probably a first special issue or a comprehensive body of knowledge on systems engineering and AI that will come forward. And I would say, I think, from the way I've looked at the papers, they're very balanced between SE for AI and AI for SE. So these are some of the major activities that we've been involved with the AI Working Group. The next sort of section, I want to switch the talk more towards on what are some of the challenges we are focusing on as part of the AI Working Group, and what do we need to do, especially in the area of systems engineering and AI. So I'd like to start out with, starting a systems perspective of AI and machine learning. I think kind of go hand in hand. when we look at complex systems from an SC perspective, we have components of a complex systems that interact and interface with one another. And as their interaction goes forward, that leads to emergent behavior. I think this is pretty much very common for the systems that we see today. Where we have the components, we have very well-defined requirements. We test the systems out to an excruciating extent. And then we have full controllability, observability of the individual components of the system. Now, when we put them together into a complex system, it leads to emergent behavior. It leads to difficulties that we manage as a system engineers. The challenge with AI is that if AI becomes a part of a component, then we don't have well-established requirements. We lose the controllability, we lose the observability, and there are more data-driven technologies that become part of the system. Essentially, what happens with AI becoming a complex component of a complex system is they are typically implemented by deep neural networks, right? And these deep neural networks are trained on big data sets or reward functions. And in the end, this essentially becomes a black box. So now, basically, the complex system we were dealing with earlier, which had a very well-defined component that we understood really well, but when it became part of a system, it leads to challenges. We have this black box, which is now becoming a part of a system. And then it produces a whole lot of different issues that we then need to address. And that's where the systems engineering for AI sort of like comes into play.
Any special considerations you make in terms of you're going to integrate this within system of systems concepts, depending on end-to-end architectures? What are you looking at in terms of maybe that kind of bothers you in your mind when it comes to testing? What are those things that kind of like, hey, how do you do this because of the integration perspective?
So there's, I think I'll get to it in just a bit about different approaches that we could apply when we are testing these systems. And I would apply to system of systems as well. Okay. So just real quick about what this black box model is. Deep neural networks, we might have heard about this term, artificial neural networks. As of today, these are the most, let's say, common form of implementing AI and machine learning algorithms. They're not the only way of implementing AI or machine learning algorithms. They're probably the most prominent way of doing it. What these artificial neural networks are, that it is really a technology which is modeled after the neurons in a human brain. And it becomes a sort of like, the way your cerebral cortex of the brain processes information. The neural networks are designed to process information in that manner, right? So here's like an example of a neuron in a human brain. You have these dendrites, which are called like the inputs. They go into a body of a cell, which is called a soma. And then based on the inputs and the function of a soma, a output is produced, which is then connected to the dendrites of the other neuron. So it's kind of like input, function, output becomes input to the other neurons in the human body. I am not a neuroscientist, so please don't ask me questions about it. So essentially, this model is replicated in an artificial neuron, where you have these multiple inputs coming in. It has a sum of weights, it has an activation function, and then it produces an output. And then an artificial neural network is when you have an input layer which get connected to multiple of these neurons, and it produces an output. So that's the basic construct of an artificial neural network. All the algorithms that you see now are essentially determining what the weights of these inputs are in order to achieve a desired output from this network, right? So that's how it is modeled after a human brain. It is nowhere close to a human brain, even as of now, because some fun facts about the human brain are there are about 100 billion neurons in a human brain. There's about 100,000 connections of each neuron. So that leads to about 100 trillion connections of inputs, outputs within your brain. So basically, when you see a person, it takes about half a second. It takes about 200 to 250 ops to recognize a person's sort of like, your name, and you sort of start recognizing it. Now compare that to the large language models for today. I think the latest generation of ChatGPT, all of those models are still at 5.4, 5.6 billion parameters. So it's 5.6 billion parameters is huge, but 100 trillion is, still quite a ways out there. So that's sort of like the architecture of artificial neuron. And these are called like ANNs, these artificial neural networks. What we are today dealing with are what's called the deep neural networks mostly. So deep neural networks are where you have multiple hidden layers, and in models like ChatGPT and all of those, these hidden layers and the parameters can exceed quite a bit. So what's happening within the AI community is that deep neural networks are probably the most common form of AI implementation, and they have very well-established performance requirements. Performance, like let's say outcomes. Any type of your face recognition, every time you look at your phone, it opens up, unlocks. There's essentially a deep neural network which is running behind it, which has been trained on your images of your phone, of your face, and it kind of like unlocks it. So in applications like this, I mean, it kind of works okay because within the AI community, there's been a very strong focus on very quick algorithmic development on how we build AI and move forward. What the challenges they're facing is that once this deep neural network is trained, it is essentially a black box model. If you open up an AI paper, even recent papers, let's say we have a machine learning algorithm such as M takes an input X and produces Y. Because even the designers and the trainers of these AI algorithms, they don't really understand what's going on here. Input-output mapping is really good, really strong. But the issues that arise with it, how do you test it? What type of a failure modes that can be introduced or it would lead to, they'll often ignore. And I think that's where the systems engineering perspectives come into play. You start asking questions that, okay, what was the data set that this model was trained on? How would impacting some of the inputs would have an effect on the outputs? How about the uncertainties? How about all the different failure modes or interactions with external systems? How would this algorithm work? Because when this black box becomes a part of a complex system, its inputs are coming from other complex components and its outputs are going into other complex components. So a lot of times those questions are not asked and not addressed. And a lot of times those issues are not brought up in common public knowledge, right? So the idea there is that AI is, we often forget that it is artificially intelligent. And we tend to give it, a lot more credit than it maybe it deserves. Right, so here's this example of when it is artificially intelligent is this, I think this was like a cruise vehicle, very recent. I'm not quoting anything from like 2009 or 2010. This is very recent, where a cruise vehicle, which is on test on the roads of San Francisco, ran into the back of the bus for a San Francisco bus. So as a systems engineer, you would ask this question that, how come that is even a possibility? What happened that you deployed a system in the field for practical testing and it fails in such a terrible way, right? I mean, it just saw the bus and still ran directly into the bus. Can anybody guess what happened maybe? Why would that be the case?
Was there a picture like of a scenery or a road or something on the back of the bus?
So very close. The city of San Francisco decided to change the color of the buses. And the machine learning algorithm, which was designed to recognize a bus, was at that point unable to recognize a bus and just kind of ran into it without issuing those control commands. So again, that kind of shows, that's probably as systems engineer, this would be the first question you would ask, right? If you're receiving an input, I'm going to change that input. How is my output going to get affected, right? Where there's other examples, ChatGPT hallucinating court cases. That was a couple of years old. A lawyer got, quite embarrassed in front of the in a court because of that. Then there's all these different, Air Canada paid for damages that for the chatbot lies because they introduced a chatbot. A chatbot came up with its own policies. Those policies were never found in Air Canada's document. Luckily, the person who was dealing with it sort of took screenshots and went to court and won the case against Air Canada. So all of those things have happened. And one thing that I'd like to mention is this recent paper came across, which is on the foundational models. So if you read AI literature, foundation models are kind of sit one step above of the large language models because they train for highly complicated tasks. And this paper was released in 2025, like around March, April timeframe, where the researchers from, I think this was from MIT and some Berkeley people collaborating together. And what they wanted to see was what the foundation model has really found. That was the title for the paper. And what they did was they trained a foundation model on planetary trajectories. So basically, you have the data from all the planets, and you're trying to predict their orbital motion, right? So of course, the foundation model worked really, really well in predicting the next point for the prediction of the orbital motions, until they introduced a slight change in the mass of the planet, and then it completely crashed, right? So the idea was that these foundation models that were trained on these trajectories, they learned to match the pattern for the data, but they never got close to learning what the Newtonian physics models were, or what the underlying physics was that these planets were working on. So again, it kind of points to the problem that these types of questions systems engineers would ask first, right? And when we look at all these, really large language models, even foundational models, they work really well, but they also fail miserably, in a spectacular way too, if you come across those cases. So AI community is also recognizing these as problems. So for example, we are not the only ones. And then there was this paper that came out from Google and some of the other folks, it was probably in some time ago, is they identified these 4 problems in machine learning safety. And they said, as we are developing these algorithms, we need to address these problems. The first problem was robustness. It said robustness is basically creating models that are resilient to adversaries, unusual situations, or black swan events. So black swan events are more like ultra rare events that would happen. Monitoring, detecting use, monitoring prediction, or looking at some unexpected model functionality. The other 2 were alignment, sort of like build models that are optimized for hard to specify human values, and systemic safety, basically using models to address broader risks, such as how is the system, or such as cyber attacks, or some of those things. So as I was going through these 4 lists, I was like, oh, I think that's a very good sort of wake-up call for perhaps systems engineering community, because these might be new to other disciplines or AI disciplines. Certainly, these types of issues, robustness, monitoring, alignment, systemic safety, is nothing new for systems engineering discipline, right? So I said, okay, what can we do is how can systems engineering help here? And I sort of say, can we map these 4 problems to a system to be model that we're all very much familiar with? And here's the cases like, for example, alignment is one of the first things we do. Alignment is building models for hard to specify human values. In systems engineering terms, we would call it doing like a stakeholder analysis. We would start out any problem with that stakeholder analysis. I've seen some of my students, we've been kind of talking about that for a long time. Right? And then we have tools, techniques to do that. Monitoring, that is unexpected model functionality. Again, all of our functional architectural analysis, all of those things are designed to help identify any unexpected model functionality. The other one, systemic safety. I think that's one of the core systems engineering jobs, to ensure that what models that we build are resilient to external interfaces, or resilient to any issues. So, for example, doing failure modes effects analysis or hazard analysis, all of those kind of fall under doing those. And then robustness, again, that's one of the key thing we do as systems engineers is identify test cases and identify how we can mitigate some of the failures within a systems. So I think application of those to AI systems and AI technologies, I think that's where the systems engineering for AI needs to come in and start building that. And I would say I think systems engineering is doing some of that. I'd say it has the foundations, but perhaps not all the solutions yet. As I look through the systems engineering literature, there's been a lot of research within SE community in trying to see how we can adapt the V model to better suit the needs or the challenges of AI systems. So I can't say that we can just take the standard model, V model, and say, all right, here's a solution. I think there's a lot of research development, and I think discussions within the community need to happen on what that next V model would look like. For example, I think the European Commission came up with what's called like a W model, which is specifically designed for AI systems. And then there's a lot of other iterations of V model that is being proposed. In addition to that, I think there is also a need to introduce formal methods, system safety and reliability analysis into our, sort of evolve those to incorporate AI and machine learning techniques. So that's sort of like taking methods, tools that we are familiar with and applying it to the AI systems. And then we also need to look at some of the emerging AI ML techniques on explainable AI and what's called like counterfactual reasoning. So make them part of a systems engineering tool set so that we can apply it to the AI and machine learning sort of like systems. I'll maybe give you a quick glimpse of what explainable AI is. It's becoming very popular among within the AI community, and I think that's one tool set that systems engineers need to adapt to or adopt or start to see how we could apply those. Essentially, what explainable AI is trying to make this black box machine learning model more interpretable, more transparent, and more explainable in a sense that a human can look at the inputs and outputs and try to make a judgment out of it that, how does this model work? Some examples are, for example, like local explanations where, you start changing the inputs and see how the outputs change. You start at look at the feature relevance on which of the inputs are, for example, most important on the output. Explanations by examples, text explanations, visualizations, all of those things are kind of like looking at how do we take a stab at one of these things and try to build more interpretability, explainability, or transparency for these models. So just to give you an idea on how this works, for example, like feature relevance. The explainable AI techniques take this black box model. This is designed for it's a disease prediction, where you take in the age, the gender, the blood pressure, and the BMI of a patient, and the model can tell you whether the patient has a disease or not. What we're seeing from performance testing is that these AI models like these are extremely accurate, oftentimes more accurate than the physicians themselves. But with the black box nature of the model, the poor physician does have no clue on what happens and why they were more accurate or what was the decision-making logic behind it. With looking at this model with explainable AI techniques, it's a very common technique called shapely additive explanations that kind of like looks at the kind of reverse engineers the model, and it kind of identifies the weight for these inputs. And it says that, okay, I'm producing an output, but this output is really influenced by the age of the person the most, the gender is a negative contribution, and then the blood pressure and the BMI would be a positive contribution, right? So that's kind of gives an idea to a physician that if the disease was not predicted or predicted, what was sort of like the reasoning behind it, how the inputs were affecting the outputs of this neural network. So my sort of like research, some of the work that I've done at Mason is looking at how we take these techniques, how we take systems engineering techniques and start applying it to more like systems engineering related problem. So I'll maybe just give you a little glimpse of that real quick, where we looked at applying reinforcement learning to high-speed aerospace vehicles. This is a research project completed at Mason a couple of years ago. This was work that was sponsored by Sandia. And then the idea there was that you have a vehicle, which is like a, let's say, an aircraft vehicle model, and you want to use AI or reinforcement learning techniques to provide guidance and controls commands to this vehicle. So this vehicle is sort of going through this area. There's an AI is observing all the conditions. It maybe sees a restricted area model, and it's trying to get to that target. How would it navigate around it to do it? So instead of a pilot, there is a AI agent which is controlling this vehicle. So that's how the project started. And we said, at that point, the idea was that can reinforcement learning techniques, which is a type of an AI machine learning algorithm, can be used to accomplish this. And very quickly, we were able to show that, yes, you can use reinforcement learning to accomplish this. The way we did this was, there's a little graph right here, is there's like an altitude that the vehicle is trying to descend, and we trained a reinforcement learning agent to provide the angle of attack command. So basically, pitch up, pitch down for the aircraft to those commands to guide the vehicle to a certain altitude. So all of this was very good. What you see here is this blue line, which is blue line right here, is that the reinforcement learning agent, which was this deep neural network, was trained to learn the aircraft dynamics, learn the environment, and start producing these AOA commands as an output to guide that vehicle. So all of that worked really well. But to answer a question like, okay, this is all good until 21 seconds, then a command is issued. At 25 seconds, another command is issued. At 35 seconds, another command is issued. So what is going on? I mean, yes, it is working, but why is it working? And I trained it at like these altitudes. If I change these altitude, how does it still work or not? So that's where the systems engineering sort of techniques come into play. First thing we did was we developed, a lot of different test cases using design of experiments and lead and hypercube sampling, which is a popular way of testing within systems. And what we found out was the 100% success is within the 5% tolerance in altitude. So the AI works really well, but the tolerance windows for the input conditions is really low as well. It works well, but within a very small margin. And then we looked at shapely additive explanation. So kind of trying to look at why these commands were issued. So looking at altitude, velocity, time, flight path angle as inputs to the system, and seeing what is really influencing the decision for that agent. So because an information like this, I could take to an aerospace engineer and say, you're designing a flight controller, are you going to pay attention to altitude, velocity more, or are you going to be concerned more about the angle or the time of the flight more? So these type of things, you could take back to the subject matter experts, the component designers, and see, how the AI was working. Does that conform to the principles of that discipline or not? So I think things like that will help us introduce systems engineering techniques to AI and machine learning areas, and that will help accelerate the application of AI into practical systems as well. That's where I think one of the areas that we're seeing is a major gap there. And that gap, I would say, is can be filled out by when we combine systems engineering with modeling simulations and the AI and artificial intelligence with assurance. When you start to combine these three disciplines, you get into this window of opportunity, that I would call, that will help you accelerate the transition of AI into practical systems. Within my research, I'm kind of like focused on this area, and we're hoping to advance it further here at Princeton. And this thing is, I think, being noticed globally at this point, that there is an issue for introducing AI and machine learning into practical systems. That's my, I think, last slide here is this report, NAE report, that came out in September of this year from the National Academies of Engineering. And it really talks about that there is a huge gap when we're applying machine learning for safety critical applications. I think Dr. Sherry is here. He knows very well about how the FAA stands on, anything that is deep neural network coming, not even miles close to a aircraft, because we just don't understand what's going on in those deep neural networks, that we cannot apply them into a safety critical applications. And what I'd like to highlight here is that this report, this NAE report, very clearly highlights is that there is a need for a new discipline to emerge that combines the safety analysis and systems engineering with AI and machine learning algorithms. I think one of the things that this report pointed out was currently in AI community, the benchmark, and we can talk to our computer scientists friends, just a couple of floors above, is that the benchmark is 95%. So if your image recognition algorithm is correct to 95%, it is considered a really good algorithm. The hallmark is like 97% under certain cases, right? Now imagine that with a safety critical application. I mean, it's okay for opening up your phone and stuff, right? If you have a little makeup on, it doesn't recognize you, I think it's all right, right? You know the reasons behind it. Or if you have a Mac, but for safety critical applications, there is, I mean, the margins are just not there. For safety critical applications, you're looking at 99.99999, I think 10 to the power -9 probability for any safety critical applications. So that, about 3% gap is really huge. And this report really clearly talks about that there is a need to merge the systems engineering, safety, and AI ML disciplines together if you're going to create a future where AI could play a role in practical systems. So I think that's probably like my last slide here. I would say, please join the AI working group. Leave it on a lighter note here. If you are an INCOSE member, it's free to join. Just go on to your profile and click on the INCOSE working group. As I mentioned earlier, we're very active in our some of the things we're doing within the working group, and we're going to be hosting, like, let's say, monthly webinars, sort of like inviting both the computer scientists and the systems engineers, kind of trying to bridge that gap together in future. So please join the working group, and yeah, that's all from my end. And please feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
Tons of questions.
I know you.
All right. First, my first thought was when you showed us all those potential failures, and then you said, hey, it's like a black box, especially with the hidden layers. The first thing I thought about was risk. Okay, how do we troubleshoot? How do we understand the risk, especially if AI is being used in the subsystems of a larger system? How do you find out where the problem is coming? Because right, a lot of system engineers are going to have to work with their test engineers. Like, why did this break? How did this happen on real systems that maybe are using AI components? What is the field thinking?
Yeah, so I think that's a big area of research and interest for the systems engineering community that we would need to advance is if there are AI components, right? What different types of test cases now need to be ran? So you maybe have requirements for an AI system. That's the whole another can of worms. But you really don't understand the logic behind that black box model, right? And if you don't understand the logic behind, then how do you start testing it? I mean, if you look at any other, let's say, technical components, whether it's a more sophisticated control law, let's say it has a really nice mathematical formulation that you could understand very well, right? Or if there's any physical material degradation, that can even be modeled through different mathematical equations. But with deep neural networks, it's just because they are primarily data driven. You don't have that foundation. So I think that sort of introduces that to include explainable AI and other type of methods in your test regimen to address those issues.
I got a different question.
Sure.
All right, this is it's fast. Are there particular industries that are more dominant than others? Like, for example, is it healthcare systems or financial systems or defense systems? Which of these different industries may be, more all in with the AI stuff? Like, who's pushing the boundaries?
I'll give you one guess.
Automated vehicles, AVs.
The what?
I'm sorry, who?
AVs, automated vehicles,
Yeah.
autonomous vehicles, yeah.
Yeah. So AVs, I would say to a large extent, but a lot of times, at least what I've heard, is even within AVs, they're mostly expert systems. It's they are also, because when they tried testing these deep neural networks, like the example that I showed, in real life world, they do fail. So they resort back to the, like an expert system to handle that instead of, using like a deep neural network. I don't know, I think so I've been seeing a lot of work in fintech, like financial technology, right? So those are adopting AI quite rapidly. And then there's been a lot of investments, but I think that's another area. I just saw a report from JP Morgan this morning that said that the ROI on AI investments from a purely financial standpoint is really bad. It's really low. Yeah, because companies are investing a lot in AI, but they're not seeing results. There was even I think a couple of years ago, there was a McKinsey, Boston working consulting group and an MIT Sloan School of Management. They kind of looked at, the return of investments on AI, and they said, oh, they develop AI and it sits at, at one organization, at one sort of like entity level, but organization-wide, it just never integrates with any other business processes. So there's been a lot of sort of, those things are now coming up that the integration of AI is very challenging. Development is, of course, there is, but integration is very challenging.
I am just, my mind is just swirling, trying to think of how to test.
Yeah.
As a testing engineer, my mind is just being blown, just trying to think of trying to capture all of the possible errors. You want to, people rely on testers to catch every error, but when you're starting with artificial.
Yeah. So we have a master's project team, capstone project, that are working on sort of like test and evaluation of AI. They're looking at, let's say, handwriting recognition, which is a very common example, which is used for training AI. And they're saying, okay, we're trying to develop different test cases for an AI image system and how it would fail, under what conditions it would fail. So at least we're trying to make some progress on that side. Yeah. But I think that's overarchingly, that's a big consideration.
Yeah.
Going to what you just mentioned, how to do so if you have an ever-changing development model, right?
Yeah.
And that black box just keeps moving everywhere into its own, so hopefully more efficient, but nevertheless never like guaranteed operational kind of mythology, whatever you want to say. So how is it the testing we'll have to develop with the model, or we'll always be playing catch up sort of thing?
So that's a very good question, actually. I like it. There's been a lot of work that's going on in digital engineering and building like digital twins of systems. And then the idea is that, let's say, picking up on the AVs, or like autonomous vehicle. If the autonomous vehicle is driving on the road, there is a digital twin of that vehicle, which is running in the cloud, and it is constantly processing, constantly testing, hundreds of thousands of different combinations to kind of guide, what the next steps can be. This is more theoretical at this point than practical, I think. But I think they're, at least the community is starting to think on how to address those type of issues.
So it's like
very expensive.
Yeah.
Computational power, right? So it would be like a parallel simulation that's like moving just a little bit ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And trailing
the real system. Yeah.
Maybe.
even modeling large systems. You have the digital twin. If I do X at this end, what are my effects at the other end? So from cost, schedule, performance, you can kind of not have to spend so much because you're getting ahead of understanding what that means if you actually implement.
So it puts you like in the margin where you're.
Yeah, the other thing you gentlemen mentioned about ML learning, we did a lot of work with a major program, and we found the algorithms, once they're put in, you keep training and training and training and training the algorithm, that you can just leave them. But we actually learned you got to go back and you have to actually tweak the algorithms because, like you just said, with the models and the ever changing mission, whatever it is you're going after, those models or the algorithms just can't stay the same. They learn, and then they start tweaking in, then they start going back out. So because they learn enough, it's like, oh, wait a minute.
I need more, right?
When it's good enough.
Are there any questions online?
So I have a question.
Go ahead,
Part
Bill.
of AI you didn't mention was generative AI. How does that fit into this, or doesn't it fit?
So I think that's a great question. So generative AI, I think as I mentioned, it's like within the working group, so we're looking at AI for SC for AI. The generative AI working group, the segment is more on the AI for SC, where they're looking at how do we use generative AI for systems engineering applications. So that work is going on. I'm not directly involved in that area.
All right, one last question for me.
Sure.
Is there an area of AI and system engineering that really worries you, like personally? Like, is there an area, like a field that like where you're saying this could be dangerous?
General user.
Yeah, no, but I would say like test and evaluation of AI. I think that's an area that it's very, very important, and that's probably like as even the report that mentioned earlier is that the developers of AI are not thinking about that too much. So
What do you think they'll have I'll use the big they. We talk about, I'll use the term person in the loop. From some of the things in your resume where you worked. What do you think it's going to take before, we'll say, commanders, CEOs are willing to say, I've got full confidence that this thing is good enough, no matter what it does, whether it's fly a plane, whether it's drop a bomb somewhere, or to launch a missile and make sure it hits the right. When do you think? And I'm being very careful. When do you think, or what would be needed to have a level of confidence where, we can go hands off with a human in the loop kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, to be very honest, I don't think I have an answer to that. I think there's a lot of, progress going on into these things, right? And they're accelerating very, very rapidly. But I think where we hit that point, I don't think I have the ability to answer that.
And that wasn't a gotcha.
Yeah,
That was just curiosity. I think you safely started that. Thank you.
So, as a part of the working group, are you building any models specifically for INCOSE, or training on?
So that's a very good question. I think one of the things we did not talk about is we are, for the last couple of months, we've been very busy with building a policy, AI policy for INCOSE. So that's sort of like going through reviews now. And one of the things we want to be able to do is build a AI assistant agent as part of the working group activity, where that is trained on, let's say, the Wiley journals, the INCOSE CIS publications, the INCOSE, it's called the vaccine, what was it called?
Insights.
Insights, yeah, that's Insight, publications, so that if anybody wants to query for systems engineering knowledge, we can say that, okay, this has been trained on the right data sets to provide that answers. So I think that would be an ongoing working group activity in 2026. what I've been told is that building that model is not hard. It is finding the data for that model and getting the right copyrights release from Wiley and all the other places is more challenging than actually building that agent.
Data is always an issue.
So I just want to make a quick comment about what you said, fintech. I think it's one of the premier industry that is doing a lot of adoption of AI because you don't have risk, right? Like if you send somebody an alarm that your account is hacked, what's the worst thing that can happen? Versus if a plane is, if your angle of attack is in a different direction, it's going to be a disaster. But I was also listening to the radio, in fact, this morning. OpenAI has a contract with Oracle that they will actually, sell them their, billions of dollars. These are like, $300 billion multi-year. And then Oracle is making contract with OpenAI that we're gonna lend you or we're gonna fund you money to build your data center. And guess where all this money are coming from? From all the banks. So there are 13 banks today. This morning in Bloomberg, they were saying that there are 13 banks that Oracle is actually lending money with a very high interest, and they're giving it to OpenAI to build their data center for 18 billion. Now, like everyone seems like patting each other's back, right? If it's all good. If it goes down, then we might be looking at another bailout at some point. So I'm just, there are always risks. It's financial industry is actually on the front end, but at the same time, somebody is making a lot of profit from this. Not the AI scientists, by the way. And my another question is, I work for MITRE, so very familiar with AI for SABC for AI. I think a lot of emphasis is given on the testing on the right side of the V versus, I hardly ever see any system engineering that's actually involved when you are trying to design an AI system. I think if you go to OpenAI and say, hey, you guys, did you think about applying system engineering? Who are you? What is INCOSE? I don't care. I'm going to make money regardless. But I think, it's probably time that we think before we design an AI system, what kind of algorithm do we need? Do we need, convolution neural network? Do we need, more like linear type of, like XGBoost or maybe decision tree? I think, maybe that's something that the working group can think of. If I'm going to be building an AI system for my organization, where do I start? How do I think about the requirements? Besides testing, which is really good. Because if we don't test, we don't know that, hey, AI doesn't know Newtonian physics. So as soon as you change something, it's going to crash. But what if you design it with knowing the Newtonian physics?
Yeah, I think that's where the more involvement needs to happen.
I think that's why
I agree with that.
This group can really help.
I wanted to thank you for bringing up your V models. That takes me back years. However, I know a whole bunch of Safe Agile people probably roll, how do you, and I know in context to that briefing slide, you were trying to say, how do we start to engender AI, but how do we work it into all, the left and the right side of the V? How do we talk about that with the iterative process of delivering small capabilities from a Safe Agile perspective as well, and keeping the V, because I think it's a hybrid. It's something that you can work together. Because that's what the government's going to. It's all Safe Agile while they hold, collection on the V as kind of a baseline. But the problem from a contract perspective is delivering capabilities that the government can actually see quickly and see that they're getting value for their money. So I think there's kind of a hybrid piece that goes along with your V model, incorporating the AI in there as well.
Yeah, the agile piece. I think that could be a great sort of discussion within the working group on how to accelerate, the testing or the deployment of AI.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, I don't know your name was sitting next to you. She had mentioned, from a testing perspective, it's component testing, early integration testing. It's all of those components, because you can't test the box.
Yeah.
So you got to protect, somehow test before, test after, making sure when you put it together that it flows and you're getting what you expect to see. So it's tough. It's gonna be difficult, but fun, because we're kind of the cusp of something new, so.
I agree with that. I think that's a very, very good comment.
I'd like to go back to the generative AI stuff. There was a demo given by Dassault on September 16th called Dassault Systems Generative Design and AI in 3D Experience, CADIA. And they were demonstrating the product and their AI capabilities, and they would change a few parameters, and you could see it was on the fly changing the design around, where it was trying to minimize the amount of material and still maintain structural integrity. Okay. And you could use it for bridges or stuff like that. But I think it was a part, and they were trying to minimize the cost. And so it looked pretty good, and most of the surface features didn't look like I-beams or anything like that. It looked like a bunch of curves in it. So you would have to machine it a lot unless you did injection molding or something like that. And there's just too many curves and complexities in it. Yeah, it saved material. But the first thing they said, well, it's based on all the latest algorithms that to this given area. And I said, well, how do you know if you're going to use it for, like, say, bridges, whether it's safe? And because you're going on, there's no equations, so you would have to go back and verify all the dimensions to see whether it could handle the loads based on your equations that you know about. I'm not a civil engineer or anything like that, but so yeah, we computed all this stuff, but you're assuming at face value that this AI algorithm or their software is computing things correctly. And like everybody was saying before, risk, safety, and everything else, particularly public safety, there's too much liability there to assume that AI computed things correctly. And it said they were getting information from the internet. And I said, well, I could inject a false equation. You scan my website, now it's a false equation. Now you're doing computations based on a false equation, assuming that it represents state of the art in computing load factors and all that. So right now, there's just too much, unknowns in AI to just go assume things. And that's a big company, Dassault, that gave that demonstration. And let alone everybody else that are small players out there. And there's another one on writing requirements. There was another webinar that INCOSE gave on writing requirements too. So, but that's got a long way to go yet. Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you all for the questions. We are definitely going to be looking to join the AI working group.
That would be great.
To stay engaged, because this is definitely not going away. So thank you again, Dr. Ross.
Thank you very much.
And I think there's only one slide left, which is what we plan going forward. Please do not forget to vote. Please consider joining the board, joining one of the committees. We would love to have you. We will be sending out information very, very shortly with regards to our holiday party. And that is it for now. And we'll partake in some refreshments. Thank you all for joining. And have a good evening, good holiday. And I'm going to take a quick picture because, of course, it didn't happen if you didn't get a picture, right? All right. Have a good evening.